Welcome to the You Are More podcast. I'm Blaine Ledbetter.
And I'm Laken Stewart. If you're looking for an authentic community that shares the truth of the gospel and the truth about life, you've come to the right place.
We believe that you are more. You're more than motherhood, more than your ministry, and more than your career. Grab a cup of coffee and listen in to hear the truth about what it means to find your identity in Christ through every season of life.
Welcome to the You Are More podcast.
Welcome back to the You Are More podcast. We are so glad to be talking through, just some frequently asked questions. We talked last week about motherhood, and so this week we wanted to just go through some questions that we received about ministry. And so if you're in ministry, great, keep listening. But if you're not, maybe this is geared more towards those who
are not,
who are not in ministry as their vocation or their husband's vocation. So I am going to start it out today. Laken. All right. So let's talk through. Let's go. What does it look like, or what do you do, as a woman called to missions? Like, are women called to missions? What do you do if you feel you're called to missions, but your husband is not, or that you're single and you really want to, serve the overseas mission field? Like, what do we think about that?
I think the first step in answering this question is defining missions and what that is. And because missions encompasses a broad scope of work, in my opinion, of just you can be serving overseas in a small village in Malawi, Africa, or you can be in your backyard serving your neighbors, your children, and things like that. So missions is more broad than just going to a third world country and giving them toys and then coming back home. I think it's much more broad than that. And I think if you are a woman who has been called by the Lord to missions, gosh, that's incredible. Awesome for you that you have heard that call from the Lord. Like, so proud that you're wanting to go and do that and dive right into all the Lord has for you in that field of work. I think women are fully called and affirmed by the Lord to serve in whatever capacity they feel God is calling them to within the church, within the mission field, within anything having to do with ministry. Women are equally as equipped as men. And I think just from a missions standpoint, I feel like women are really the backbone of the mission field. I think there's a certain nurturing touch that women bring to the mission field that honestly men just have a hard time capturing. And I think men are great disciplers and great leaders, and women are too. I think there's a nurturing touch that comes with a women in the mission field, whether that be across the world or across your neighborhood. And so I don't know if that really answers the question, but those are hot takes on women in the missions field. So Blaine, I don't know if you have something else to add.
Absolutely. What you just said. I think if you are considering this, I heard this in a coffee shop, just like literally overheard, but was also kind of talking about this with the girl who brought it up. But if you think that God is calling you to missions, tell somebody else. Tell really the three people closest to you. If you're married, your husband has to be part of that conversation.
Yes, of course.
God should have already called him, or will be calling him within the next 3 seconds, if that's the case, because he won't do anything to divide you guys.
Yes, 100%.
But if you're single, or if, you as a married couple are contemplating that, like, we've been called to missions, either overseas or in another city, there are plenty of mission fields right here in the States.
America.
But tell 3 people and let them speak into you, because if it is from the Lord, they are going to affirm that, and they are going to help you process not only the transition, but also there's, a fundraising aspect to it, but then also just the spiritual battle of it. Because, if Satan knows that you're a threat, he's just going to come in full force. Yeah, definitely ask some trusted mentors to discern, okay, is this from God, or is this just a desire that I have to go overseas and live in another country for like 2 weeks? No, this is like, you're committed and you're going to stay there for long term, like at least a year, and up to however long. But it's definitely a calling, and it's definitely hard. It's just like going into ministry. Like, don't pick it as a cool vocation. Do it because, like, to not do it would be disobeying the Lord. Yeah. So that's my spiel on missions. I definitely have a heart for missions, and Laken and I both can resonate with this, but like, I am doing mission work not only within my family because I'm raising tiny disciples. I mean, they're my biggest mission field, is the 3 people I birthed. But our job is allowing us to do that.
Field. Yeah.
It's so crazy. We are partnering with missionaries overseas, but then a lot of incredible organizations stateside.
Yeah.
That are doing the hard work, but we do have a piece in that. It just looks way different than, packing up our family and moving across the world. So I am grateful for that. And just know that your mission work, your mission field could definitely be the classroom that you teach in, or the workplace that seems, you're the only light. There's definitely, there's need.
Home. Yeah. If you have an, unequally yoked spouse, or your kids are not, if you have older kids and they're just straying from the Lord, that's your mission field too. And I think that's so important to remember is, well, like I said earlier, missions is a broad scope. It's not just one singular thing of going to a tiny village to minister to women and children there. It's all around you every single day. At the grocery store, at the bank, in your own home.
Yeah.
And I think those are just important things to remember if you feel called specifically to overseas missions, like Blaine said, tell someone and then get in contact with an organization that can help you.
Yeah. Don't do it alone.
Don't do it alone.
Don't do it alone ever.
You won't do it well alone. Like, just be
real.
So yeah, cool. Blaine, there was another question kind of similar to this. What would you tell a woman who is called into ministry, but not children's ministry? As you know, most women in ministry, unfortunately, are stuck in the children's wing of the church. So
they are. And that's okay if you're not.
And I think, if that's you right now and you see yourself doing more things with adults, this section of this podcast is for you.
Yeah. Again, like I said, with the missions aspect, speak it to someone else to affirm you, the call to ministry and what that looks like. And I am very much pro women in ministry. I mean, Laken and I are very similar in our beliefs on that. I heard Bianca Olthoff say this in a podcast episode one time. She was like, yeah, I'd rather just, maybe I get to heaven and God tells me that I should have been a little bit more quiet, or maybe I shouldn't have preached the gospel. She was like, but I'll just find out when I get there, because I'm going to preach the gospel.
If you're preaching the good news of the gospel and it's true and not heretical, God's not going to banish you.
I mean, Beth Moore is my homegirl.
Oh, man.
I love her very much. Love her story. I am very, I know currently that I'm in a church where there are women on staff, but they don't hold the title of pastor. That's just a denominational thing. And I have got to be okay with that. I've kind of made my peace with that, because that's where we're at right now. And that's where the Lord has called my husband to, because I also know how my husband feels, and he very much wants women to be a part of the work of the church. In several ways. He is very empowering. He knows how strong-willed our daughters are, and he's not going to dim that fire.
I know.
So if you're a woman called to ministry, but you're like, I don't want to do children's ministry, that's okay. Maybe it looks like you have to have a change in church. If that is your vocation, and you are looking for a job, there are different denominations that have different roles for women in the church. But again, just going to the staff, leadership, elders, or whatever at your church to tell them, like, I really do think God's calling me to vocational ministry, and see what they say. Like, I definitely think it's a conversation to be had, to be open and honest. And again, just like with the missions conversation, like, have people affirm that if that's true. Because sometimes I see women wanting to be in ministry and to lead and to speak and to teach, and they really need to start at the bottom. And I say that in not to be rude or unkind, but you have to serve others, because being in ministry and being in the spotlight will humble you very quickly.
Yep, sure will. You have to develop thick skin.
I was talking to a friend the other day. I was like, listen, I lead a small group at our church. I've also taught like a study on Daniel last year. I was like, during those times, I promise you, God is coming for the Bible teachers, not to attack. Satan will attack, but I'm held accountable. I mean, if you're going to teach the word of God, like, you will be checked and wrecked and all of the above. But I think that it's pruning, and it is, if you're just up there for the recognition or just to say your piece, or you think that God has unleashed you. That's not the way to go. Like, go clean the bathrooms. Like, that's literally what I would recommend, is go clean the bathrooms.
Humble service to the Lord can look different in many ways. It can be cleaning the bathrooms. It can be standing on a stage and preaching. It can be serving in the kids ministry. It can be cooking a meal for a family. I think there's ministry all around you. And I fully affirm women preaching and teaching and proclaiming the name of the Lord and the gospel story. I think there's also a lot of depth and breadth to ministry amongst women and what that looks like. And I think that's just something to keep in mind if you're looking to pursue a career in ministry as a woman. And I will do a plug for the seminary my husband went to, as it is an affirming Baptist seminary for women in ministry. And we're going to link a resource in the show notes that kind of explains their take on women in ministry. And you guys can read it, digest it, take a look at it, and enjoy it.
There's also Laken, I don't know if you read or listen to NT Wright, but he has got on his podcast, Ask NT Wright Anything. He has got an incredible podcast episode about women in ministry, leadership, whatever. It's so good. So we'll link that too.
Yeah, link that.
But
awesome.
Because we figured out show notes and we know
we
how to link
we
all
know
this
how
stuff.
to do it now. Okay, one last question we received is something that I think Blaine and I can both speak to well, is how can you honor a pastor's wife or a pastor and their family really well? So Blaine, I don't know if you want to start with this question and kind of elaborate on some things you've experienced in this realm, or how you think congregations should rally around a pastor and their family.
Yeah, I know that we have alluded in earlier episodes of pastoring, just knowing that we're human, and if we don't check up on you, it is not intentional. We are not going
not at all
checklist to say, oh, haven't heard from them in 3 years, we're just not going to check on them again. Like, we also have a lot of personal junk. I mean, we have these same struggles that you have, but just realizing, one, that we're human, but also if the Little C Church is a family and a community and a village that we have also talked about, make it that way. Like, be a part of honoring.
Offer to babysit, help with the kids on Sunday.
Yes.
Don't always talk about church business when you hang out with a pastor and their family.
Yes. Yes. I don't know if we talked about that or if I heard that also, but I think it was on the Pastor's Wives Tell All podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Or Instagram, but they were like, if you see them out in public, like, they want to talk about more than just
here's what's going on at the church. Yeah.
But also in that sense of like loving them well. If you are a community and you think the Little C Church, like your local church, is a family, honor that pastor and his family when you hear gossip. First of all,
amen. My goodness.
Go away.
Yes.
From the gossip. Cut that.
If someone starts gossiping, you say, hold up. I'm going to stop you right there. If you have an issue with someone, go talk to them. That is my number one.
That is my role within the church. And I think that's why we've seen some relationships dissolve
Amen.
I don't stand for gossip.
Me neither.
It's bitter in my mouth. I'm not going to talk about you behind your back. If I do, it's positive gossip, which we really do at work. We do
positive gossip at work. Yeah.
But I don't stand for it. I think that is something that's plaguing our churches. And so if you hear someone being like, well, they didn't check up on me, or I haven't heard from them, or they got too much going on to work, you stop them right there and say, well, when's the last time you checked on them? Or I don't know, just any gossip altogether. But
you need to be standing
and honor them.
Yeah, you need to be standing in the first line of defense for your pastor and pastor's family. Guard them from people and things that are just life stealing and not life giving. We are pulled in so many different directions from different things all around us, and we need to be poured into just as much as the congregation needs to be poured into.
It's a team effort. Go ahead.
Yeah, true. It's just protect your pastor and their family from all of the negative things that surround your church, because every church has issues. No matter how healthy your church is, there's something going on that's wrong. Always. And it can be a small thing. It can, most of the time, it's probably a big thing. But just protect them from all of the dissension and the gossip. And that's something in our previous season of ministry that we've just really struggled with. We were not protected from those things. And conflict, when it did happen, was done completely wrong and just
not biblically
done, and just sucked the life out of us. And we're just thankful to be in a new season where so far that isn't the case. So
yeah, you hear this all the time that well, you're the pastor, shouldn't you take care of it? Or, well, you're the pastor, why are you doing that? Well, we're also human beings.
Yeah.
But also something we say often is every member's a minister. He may be paid to do this. This is his vocation, but you're a minister.
If your heart is beating, you are in ministry. If you attend a church and you are living and breathing, sitting in that pew or chair, you're not done yet. Get up off your butt and do something. I'm really passionate about this. To be a consumer on a cruise ship of church is not the way the gospel intends us to be. This is such a cheesy analogy, but we are aircraft carriers as a church body. We disciple and send them off. And if you're not doing that, you're doing church wrong. You just are. I am so passionate about this.
I know. No, I agree. We also hear, well, have you checked on so-so? Not in you should go do this, but more so of, hey, so-and-so's in the hospital, or there's been a death in the family or whatever. What are y'all going to do for them? Or have you gone to see them in the hospital? And it's well, we can, but have you? Because if they trusted you enough to tell you something's going on, you go to the hospital, because we can't be in 50,000 places at once. Like, it's really hard. We were talking to a pastor friend the other day, and he was like, yeah, I'm trying to get our church out of the pastor does everything mindset. And that's really hard to undo. And my husband,
so hard. That's something we've experienced. Yeah.
Well, he has, sometimes he's not apprehensive, hesitant to ask people to help him. So Andrew, go ask people to help you.
Go ask people to help you, man.
But really,
I'm Blaine's friend. Go ask people to help you.
I think he just wants to do it, and that's how he loves and serves people.
Yeah.
But I'm like, we have to train up leaders, and we have to equip people. And so empowering them, my boss said it the other day. He was like, let's have a thoughtful approach. If you see somebody in need, just go help them. Go do it. So loving us well is also just not expecting us to do everything, which ties into everything that we just said.
Gosh.
And always asking. I have a friend at church who literally, anytime I say anything, she's like, well, how can I help? What do you need me to do this week? And I'm like, even just that is a blessing.
Just hearing those words.
I don't even know
help. Yeah.
I don't even know how to answer her half the time. I'm usually I will let you know as soon as I have a plan. You're going to be the first person that I call. Yeah. And now I know that we're getting into the rhythm that I know I can rely on her. But awesome. It's just bringing people in. So
that goes back to your pastor and pastor's wife. Odds are don't have very many friends in the vicinity of where they pastor church. And so you love your pastor and pastor's wife by being their friend without expectation. And
absolutely.
You just love them more than you love or hate your church. To me, your pastor and pastor's wife, they need community. That's something that we've worked really hard to get in our previous pastorate, and just let her be, or him be, your friend. Let them be your friend. And I think that's hard for people to grasp, because there's an odd power dynamic between a pastor and the congregation. But we are people. We need community. We need friends. And I think that's something that's so overlooked, is we have to be all things to everyone. And then we have no time for, biblical community, essentially. And
no, I agree. That's really hard. Because it can be very isolating. And I feel like, in a sense, some people are scared to get close to us. I don't know why. We can handle your junk. I literally told somebody a week ago, I said, we can handle whatever's
going on
you have.
Whatever's happening, we got it.
You can't scare us off. You're not, it's okay. And if you can't trust us with that, or, let us in, who can you? You're not getting rid of us that easily. No. But I do agree, just letting them be a friend and not just your pastor, or when it's definitely, you want to respect your pastor, because there could be an instance where church discipline is necessary, but at the same time, friend first, also my pastor, but more than that, we're just friends. We want to be normal,
especially from the spouse of a pastor. Be their friend. That's all we want and more.
Yes. No, I agree. That was good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming back this week. Thank you for listening
our passionate, every week. Passionate take.
We got into it today.
We did.
But we will, I think next week is a holiday week. So you guys tune in for we'll just have a special holiday episode.
Maybe throw in some recipes.
Yeah.
Or just some
holiday traditions.
Holiday traditions, because it will be the week of Thanksgiving. So
yes, that's our plans. And so we will finish out our mini series with our career episode after the holidays. But we're so glad that y'all join us. Be sure to, if you're on Spotify, follow us, share this with your friends. Definitely send an episode that you think a friend could really really use some encouragement from, please share this, share it on social media, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, and follow us on Instagram at YouAreMorePod. So see you guys later.
See ya.